Thank you all for joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, more of your phone calls. Joining us now is Maria Espinoza. Maria, good to have you with us.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
Not bad. I know you're a little quiet here, so we'll make this very short and brief about the chain migration policy and the challenges that we have in keeping America safe and still being a welcoming place for all.
Absolutely right. We have to end that chain migration, and we should have been looking at this long ago, but we don't know who's here in the country. How many people have to be hurt or killed before the legislators wake up and realize that the situation that they put every American in.
Well, and that's the problem, because you have the press taking sides and being an advocate as opposed to reporting the news.
Absolutely. As you saw in the Judge Roy Moore election last night, that's exactly what's taking place. And in my opinion, the GOP establishment would rather see a Democrat in office than they would a conservative who would support an America First agenda.
Well, indeed. So what can we do about this?
Well, I think, Kevin, what we need to do is realize that, it's the people against the lifetime career politicians and those who want to retain their power. And that's what we're looking at right now. And this is going to be a huge battle. People need to begin or continue to let their neighbors, friends, family know, and, start being the citizen journalists and get the information out there and get online and sign up with my organization, the Remembrance Project. And it's, you'll have to type in into your URL, the remembranceproject.org, www.theremembranceproject.org. And we'll keep you abreast. We were in Texas. We relocated to Washington, D.C., and, we're learning a lot here, and it doesn't look good, but, there's a lot more of the public and the American people who care and love this country and care about their families than there are these legislators in office. So we have to press them, and that's really key, Kevin, is to let them know that you're watching, you're listening, you're not happy with it, and they better get with the program by placing an America First agenda first and foremost.
Well, Maria, we're going to let you travel safely, and we'll have you back, and we'll have you on longer when we have more time to talk in a more louder way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. God bless you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. God bless. We're sensitive to you, Maria. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. We continue on. Let's get back to your calls. If you're just tuning in, Judge Moore has not conceded, and you want to talk about it. Let's go to Lori in Boise with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Lori.
Hello. Thanks for what you do, Kevin. I'm on this Roy Moore. He was repulsive in a lot of ways. It wasn't proven, the allegations against him, but I feel about him the same way as I do Trump, as far as people saying, how can you vote for someone that has allegations like that, or he's repulsive and so on. And I disagree with your guest on you have to let the abortion issue go. It's a losing issue. I think we need to stand up for the unborn, and this Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, and this Jones fellow, they all support, Obama did too, they all supported and voted for partial birth abortion. And to me, that is so repulsive. And I just can't continent that people can do that to a little baby, as Trump said in the debate. And I wholeheartedly support Trump. I don't like everything he does. I didn't like everything at the beginning, but after seeing what happened with Jerusalem and so on, I just feel like it was a good vote. And Roy Moore was not an ideal candidate, but this abortion issue, I think we have to stand up for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Appreciate the call.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hank in Boise with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Hank.
Good morning. I'll give you a little historical side. The last flipping from a Republican to Democrat in Alabama happened when Hal Heflin won in 1986 over a Republican who won in the 1980 Reagan sweep in Alabama. And Hal Heflin's grandfather, Tom Heflin, served as a Jim Crow segregationist back in the 1920s. But the real damage that was done by this was, again, by our great majority leader who thought that they could force down conservatives, Luther Strange, who basically was a crony. You know, you got a governor in Alabama that's sort of like Butch Little. I mean, like a hoochie poo here we got in there with basically cronyism and questionable ethics. And I don't think a lot of people.
Did you say hoochie poo?
Yeah, I'll call him Coochie Poo. Sometimes I get so sick because I'm so sick of him. I could taste it. Hopefully he'll be out in a little over a year, maybe if not earlier. But well, better not, because I don't want to help. I want to get real conservative like Labrador in there. But at any rate, the biggest defection of the vote was with white suburban areas outside of Birmingham. This is where the biggest drop-off was in the Republican suburbs of Birmingham and in Montgomery. That's where the biggest drop-off was. There was drop-offs in all the Republican constituencies, but that was most pronounced among, I think, suburbanite women. That these charges were the most damaging from the looks of the demographics of this election.
Well, having lived in the suburbs of Birmingham and the suburbs of Huntsville, it's hard to battle when the press is calling you a pedophile, a child molester, and all these things. Number one, Judge Moore, not a perfect candidate, but a legitimate one, a credible one. And people, unlike Bill Clinton, Judge Moore is going to tell you what he thinks and not just tell you what you want to hear. And unfortunately, the headwinds were too strong for him.
Well, the thing is that if either if McConnell stayed out of the race or backed Mo Brooks, it would have been a lot better for I think that we would have been able to retain the seat. I think Mo Brooks, beyond a doubt, was the best qualified and a good, solid conservative vote that would have won.
Well, but here's the other thing: these people don't care about Alabama. They don't care about Idaho. They come in with their faux outrage. They come in with their alleged experience because their 20-something producers have briefed them. And then they move on to the next battle. It's not ever about the state. It's not ever about the people. It's about what they can do to pander to get the audience.
Well, I don't doubt that a bit. But I mean that's the sort of the nature of the business. I mean, you have to have an audience. I mean, that's the same way when you warned me about not going to a certain subject because you don't want to bore the audience because you always have to pay. Right,
but this is a program that's about the issues. We're not reporting. See what I'm saying? Here, let me give you an example.
A while ago, you were biting your nails. Now you're starting to think, okay, this math could work for us, and we'll see. And one of the things I'm going to check when the panel gets on the board here, again, 72% Jefferson County. We're keeping that margin over there. They're getting excited across the room there, Wolf. That tends to happen on election nights.
Wow, look at this. All of a sudden, Doug Jones is taking the...
Hale County just came in.
Take a look. Statewide, with 87% of the vote is in.
Now, you heard that. That was cheers on the set on CNN.
Oh I could hear by the Wolf Blitzer. He could hardly contain himself. His voice started to raise a little bit. You can tell.
But Lysol power.
Right.
Yeah, and the thing is that this guy isn't going to stay any more than a term if he doesn't change his tack, which I don't think he is. He's a dedicated liberal. You haven't had a liberal this much to the left in Alabama politics since Hugo Black. I think Hugo Black was probably arguably the most left-wing senator that was ever elected from Alabama. But it's a totally different day in Alabama.
It is, Hank. We appreciate the call, and we continue on at KIDO Talk Radio. 2C Wright. Is that right?
That's correct.
On KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Oh, thank you, Kevin.
I was just kind of sitting here thinking about all this accusations on abuse, sexual child abuse, all these politicians and people that got a lot of money, and it seems to me like there should be some situations where, well, like Judge Moore, he could go ahead and sue those people for scandal, and if they can't prove that he did what they claim he did, wouldn't they be liable for scandal or fraud?
No, he's a public figure, so...
Oh, it doesn't matter. I see.
You can do anything you want to a public figure.
If it happened to you or I, it would be different, right?
It would be different for you because you're a private citizen, but I've had people malign me. I've had people slander me, and slander is a tough one.
Yeah. I've just been thinking about that, wondering why they can't, some way they can fight back, but if you're a public figure, you really can't fight back other than just denying it, I guess. So, okay, well, I just appreciate that. Thanks for all your work and your effort. Great guy, great talent. I hope we never lose you.
Well, that's up to the intelligentsia at the broadcast center because I'm committed to being here. So
I realize that. Okay, well, Lord bless you and your work. Bye-bye.
God bless you too, C. Wright. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We are taking your phone calls about what happened last night in Alabama. You've got the front page of, well, the newspaper, some allegations concerning a state representative that apparently went up to somebody and said, have we met? Do you use Snapchat? And for me personally, I don't know if this is a major issue. You know, he's being investigated now by the Attorney General. And, you know, the transcripts have been redacted. But let me just say this about the Idaho legislature. You have people that live in one part of the state and then move here, and then you have allegations of whether or not where they really live. You have people that, you know, fall in love and things happen and everything else. It seems amazing to me. And again, I don't think there's a win in going after somebody personally. But just the overall view, I'm just looking at this headline here from the Statesman, and I don't know if this person were a Democrat, if this would be that big of an issue, but they're talking about epic miscommunication led to State House harassment claim, according to this particular lawmaker. And, you know, we want to be a place where everybody can get their opinions out. I just think it's preposterous because we don't know the entire story on either side. I just think it's kind of strange that this is news considering all the other shenanigans that have gone on that have been reported and haven't been reported. I just wish that our guardian of the truth would spend just as much time as they do going after legislators as as we should take a look at the budget and waste, fraud, and abuse, how the prisons were turned into fight clubs and nothing happened, how we had the internet contract that was bungled and we lost however many millions of dollars and nobody was held accountable. We can go back to what happened in the Nampa school system where the budget was mismanaged and there was never a criminal complaint against that. But no, instead of focusing on that, we have people going after people personally. And like I said, when it comes to politicians, as when it comes to media people, he without sin cast the first stone. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And we continue on taking your calls about the issues that matter to you. Treasure Valley, phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
With Jones coming in with 49.9% of the vote to Moore's 48.4%, the recount appears unlikely. President Trump weighed in on Twitter saying, "Congratulations to Doug Jones on a hard-fought victory. The write-in votes played a very big factor, but a win is a win. The people of Alabama are great, and the Republicans will have another shot at this seat in a very short period of time. It never ends." And the president may have a point when it comes to those write-in votes. Alabama voters cast nearly 20,000 43,000 write-in votes, which was larger than the margin of victory. And in advance of this election, many Republicans were saying, I can't vote for a Democrat, but I'm going to write in a conservative other than Roy Moore.
And some people actually wrote in Nick Saban, head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Wait for it. Roll Tide, roll. Jim in Boise, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello, Jim.
Well, personally, I think that the margin is close enough to go for it. If it was a wider gap, I would say no. But I think it's worth, giving it a shot to, have it looked at a little bit closer and see what happens, personally.
Well, I would share that belief, so we'll see what happens. But I agree with you on that.
Because if it was, like I said, a larger gap, or if it was, a lot of this is kind of getting, done over quickly, just because they want to get it done, get the seat in. I think that it's, they kind of maybe rushed it. I'm still concerned about 2012, honestly, and some of the questionable numbers there, like, 100% for Obama in Pennsylvania. Even on accident, should have got 2% for Romney. So things like that make me concerned. I didn't know how this is going, and it's not as closely looked at as a presidential election, I'm sure. So I think that it's worth, going over it once and seeing how close it actually is.
No, I would agree with you on that. What do you make of Senator Jones now? And isn't it amazing that here we have this state race that is so nationalized that people here in Idaho are talking about it and want to talk about it? It's kind of crazy.
Well, I think he'll probably still be true to himself, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And if he doesn't get support from the people, he'll be out in the next election that they have. In I think it's 2018, correct?
2020.
2020. Okay.
But I believe that Jones will lose to Luther Strange. And Jones will lose big.
Do you think that if Roy Moore is not put in on the recount, that he'll run again in 2020, or probably not?
Knowing Judge Moore as well as I do, I wouldn't put it past him, actually. Judge Moore is somebody that people thought should have retired many years ago. He never did. He keeps at it. He's a true believer, whether you agree with him or not. That's a very good point that I didn't even think about, Jim. I think that he will run again, but I don't think he'll get out of the primary. I think you'll have folks rallying around Luther Strange, and there we go. I think Strange will win.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the call, Jim. Phone number's here, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. We go to Security Guard Mike. Good morning, sir.
Hi, Mr. Kevin Miller. I just wanted to call in about the Roy Moore defeat. Like Donald Trump said, win's a win, and congratulations to Mr. Jones. And I hope that the Republicans take a note out of this and realize that you can't just lay back and rest on your laurels. You have to get out and do what you got to do to get your candidate in. It's I don't want to be like the Democrats when Hillary lost and screaming at the sky and all that stuff. So congratulations to Mr. Jones over there in Alabama, and hope that we can turn that state back around to conservatism. I do think that a lot of people do like the fact that when the Democrats are in, they get free handouts and stuff. And I realized that the other day when we were at this Idaho being a conservative state like it is, I think that people realize that you can be conservative, but you can be liberal in your giving and not through the government, through your own will. And I just think that's why I love Idaho, because Idaho people are smart and intelligent and brilliant. And just like they listen to you, the brilliant people listen to Kevin Miller, because Kevin Miller is a brilliant man. And I just want to say that, and thank you guys very much for everything you do here. And I love listening to you.
Well, we love you, Security Guard Mike. You take care of yourself.
Okay, bye-bye, buddy.
Bye-bye, our great friend, Security Guard Mike. Let's get you to traffic and weather. And KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But is it over? I believe that it isn't. And I think that, again, Doug Jones will not be around much, to really enjoy the perks of the Senate. In addition to that, there are some Idaho issues that we need to discuss. It's amazing to me. And again, I have folks always say, all you ever talk about, actually, Mrs. Miller said to me the other day, come back to Idaho, Kevin. You don't live in the South. This is like the South Will Rise Again show. Much more on Judge Moore. And then the idea of a state legislator saying, hey, have I met you? Does that really warrant an investigation from the Attorney General, considering all that's happened recently and in the past 5 to 10 years in the Idaho legislature? You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Much more of your calls coming up, plus a break with the FBI agents. Apparently now we have proof that they were colluding against President Trump. We'll hear from Rachel Sutherland on that, and we'll hear from Pro-Life as well. But our great friend Jeff the Suit joins us now at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jeff the Suit.
Good morning, Kevin the host.
Good to have you in so early today.
Thanks, I'm honored.
Well, you should be. You know, you're always looking to take this program into the higher
next
direction.
Level. Let's use some of the corporate speak.
I was going to say the right direction, but that wouldn't necessarily be the case. The next level.
Okay, sure.
Whatever level that may be.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Roy Moore last night?
Yeah.
Well, let me rephrase the question, sir.
Okay.
Because I know you're writing my year-end evaluation as we speak.
Sure, yeah. I'm actually in midway, yeah.
When we take a look at the topics, we pride ourselves on trying our very best, and when we don't succeed, it's always such a blessing for you to remind us of the shortfalls of this program, to focus in on the Treasure Valley. But what does it say about this phenomena that this Alabama story is being talked about everywhere, as if people, as you have worked the state as I have, knew the difference between a Limestone County, a Shelby County, or a Montgomery County?
Yeah, I think I know you lived there. You've talked about that a lot. I did too, and so I'm familiar as well. But I think the thing that I saw and that makes me a little bit hopeful is no matter what the party, no matter what the affiliation, I think tribalism over decency is frightening. And I was listening earlier when Tea Party Bob called, and a few people have made the point this morning too that he was tried, in a sense, Moore was tried in the court of public opinion, but that's every political race. That's every counter, argument that you make. That's every TV ad that runs. That's what happens, is people bring your baggage and they put it out there. And I don't know, Kevin, if you even think this is fair. I do. I don't think it was only the assertion of the sexual abuse and or harassment and even the underage dating. I think, like you brought up, it was the wife who just looked stupid, talking about, we have black friends and our lawyer's a Jew. And you're looking at these people who seem disconnected from anyone outside of their bubble. And to me, that was probably what drove even more of the resistance in, was that you just kept piling on. So you had these kind of bad feelings about maybe something happened 30, 40 years ago. You had these bad feelings about the guy that shows up on a horse and that's had, some real big disconnects with their population, even in Alabama. And then you just kept piling on. And I think the bad feelings just kept, becoming bigger and bigger, and it became something that most people couldn't ignore. I still think the margins are tight enough that you look at that and go, there's still some strong affiliation, and there's still, I believe, even a well-intentioned idea of people can change and you forgive them for past discretions. But I think, for most of us that have a faith, premise on that, we also want to hear you apologize and own it and move forward. And I don't think you did that sufficiently. So that's kind of what I saw.
Well, and again, we'd love to get your calls at 580-5436-580-KIDO. It really comes down to a gentleman like Judge Moore, who has lived in Etowah County, very small rural county in Alabama.
Yeah.
But he's beaten the odds again and again and again. And you could say those things in certain places. It doesn't play well everywhere. And then you have the state that has been blessed with Mercedes, Honda, Kia, Hyundai, all these international Toyota, all these international companies coming in. And so you have a little bit more diversity than you've had in the past.
Well, definitely. And I think even when hearing people recap it, like where I worked most of the time when I was in Alabama was Huntsville and Birmingham. And those are two very different places. But you do have the Toyota plant in Huntsville.
Right.
And yet it's still a very ethnically white area in Madison County. And I heard them saying it's an extremely diverse county. I don't think of Madison County there as diverse at all. It's very much white. But you get to Birmingham and you have the splits where you had...
Now, Jefferson County, Alabama,
yes. Definitely a lot more diversity in Jefferson County. And, it's just, it's interesting because I don't know that there's a parallel exactly to Idaho, but there is certainly an awareness that some things play in very small places. But if you're running for something that I think has to go statewide and has to be a broader base, and I think this honestly is a heads up for the Republican Party in addition moving forward, that you can't necessarily use just the agitated base that got you somewhere once. You have to evolve to get reelected or to move forward.
See, but it was a lose-lose for the Republican Party.
Oh, yeah, because they picked a bad guy, yeah.
Well, but and we could go back to Luther Strange, Mo Brooks, but we're not in Alabama, as you remind me, quite a bit.
Right.
We're in
And your
Idaho.
wife's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I hope she's listening because she doesn't hear that a lot. But yeah, she's
right. I bet not.
Yes, she's right. But how this story has captured folks in Idaho. I was ready for, we have this red phone that you call in occasionally when I'm off topic, the hotline. And I was ready for you to say, hey, you need to go back to focusing in on, what the Treasure Valley's talking about. But people are talking about maybe because the media has become so fractured, everybody is so into these races. And I don't think Virginia was covered as much as this was.
No, I think that's fair. And I think the biggest thing, too, for what's going to apply for us and anywhere is this argument again, do you go party over person? Do you go party over anything else? Or do you look at someone and say, okay, that just makes me feel uncomfortable? And I think there may be a tide changing. Look, I even think the conversation.
Tide changing.
Yes, a roll tide changing. If you look at even the Bannon conversation, you cannot argue that guy wasn't a great architect of helping to pinpoint President Trump on finding people who felt disenfranchised and like they weren't being heard, right? But the loss of some of his base and the dissatisfaction with his presidency at this point is not a reelectable, position at this point in time. Now, granted, he has time to change it, but I think you have to look at, can that game plan work a second time without evolving to bring more people in? Can you find that perfect storm of people who felt so angry and marginalized? And that may not be the case for even the presidential election, but I think it's not the situation like as we look at electing our next governor. I don't know that we have that same sort of base where you could find enough people who were just angry at the system to sort of unite on that. I think we're going to have to unite on other things.
Jeff the Suit with analysis. We appreciate it.
How was it? Did I do okay?
It was great.
Flip the roles. Okay.
We now go to the White House, and probably the only person that could top Jeff the Suit is our own John Decker, live from the White House from Fox News Radio. And by the way, John was a big fan, saw you get in a question yesterday during a contentious White House press briefing, once again with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Good morning.
Yeah, that's getting to be the norm with Sarah Sanders. And yesterday, the focus was on the president's tweet regarding Kirsten Gillibrand, the junior senator, Democratic senator from New York State. And we heard from Sarah Sanders that the president did not mean anything sexually suggestive in his tweet. And so, now we're talking about that special election which took place yesterday in Alabama, a surprise for a lot of people who believed that Roy Moore was going to win that race, and he ends up losing by 2 points.
John Decker, maybe it's a little early, but reaction from the White House. The president was very gracious in praising Doug Jones. Some would say that's a change of pace for him. Published reports saying that he's blaming Steve Bannon. What's the facts behind the fiction?
Well, indeed, the president took to Twitter today. He wrote, "The reason I originally endorsed Luther Strange is that I said Roy Moore will not be able to win the general election. I was right," he wrote. "Roy worked hard, but the deck was stacked against him." And last night, the president took to Twitter to write, "Congratulations to Doug Jones on a hard-fought victory. The write-in votes played a very big factor, but a win is a win." So the president recognizing that, he lost twice in Alabama. First endorsed Luther Strange. He lost in the primary. Then endorsed Roy Moore in the general. He lost. And so the president, as far as Alabama is concerned, will now take focus on what he can do in terms of winning back that seat for Republicans in 2 years. And who knows, in that 2-year time period, Doug Jones may surprise some people. Southern Democrats vote differently than, let's say, moderate Republicans from the North. So, you might have the same voting record that Susan Collins has in Maine, for Doug Jones. We'll just have to wait and see how he votes once he's sworn in as a new U.S. Senator in January.
John Decker joining us here on KIDO Talk Radio. So now do we move to tax reform? Because Alabama's over, and it's great to talk about, but tax reform, tax cuts, the tax futures really are what impact our lives, John.
Well, the president will make closing arguments, that's the White House calls it today, on the tax reform package that is still being worked out in terms of differences between Republicans and Democrats. And the president has made quite a few road trips in that regard. The president's traveled to Missouri, he's traveled to North Dakota, to Indiana, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and this is the closing argument that he'll make. And the president is set to leave town for his home in Palm Beach, Florida, a week from today. So there's not enough time. There's not, I say a lot of time. There is certainly enough time. There's not a lot of time for Republicans to work out their differences, but they very much want to get a bill on his desk to sign before the president leaves town.
John Decker joining us from Fox News Radio, live from the White House at KIDO Talk Radio. John, getting back to that Sarah Sanders press conference, news conference yesterday, what's it like to be in the room when she goes back and forth with folks, and then, as you were yesterday, be the one that, got the show back on track?
Well, I always was the diplomat at Thanksgiving dinner. If there was an argument, I was the one that brought the peace. So, it's a role I'm familiar with. And for some people in the briefing room, they like a good fight. And Sarah Sanders, by the way, does not back down from a fight. You know it. You've seen it. And so when that happens, Sarah Sanders will fight back, will push back, and that's what we've seen over the course of the past two White House press briefings. Today she's going to get some tough questions, certainly about the results in Alabama and, what this means for the president's agenda in the new year. Obviously, and just in terms of numbers, it means that the president has a narrower room for victory if he's going to move his legislative agenda forward, with a number of U.S. senators in the Senate moves down from 52 to 51 once Doug Jones is sworn in to the Senate next year.
John Decker, we appreciate you. Thank you very much, sir. You have a great day.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. You too.
All right, our great friend John Decker. We go to Jim in Boise that wants to talk about Jeff the Suit. Jim, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one big thing that Jeff left out. And as far as like Trump and getting elected, for whatever Trump is, a large part of it was the opposition. Now, a lot of people didn't much like Trump, but they couldn't stand the Clintons or the Obamas. So a lot of it was if the Democrats ever put up somebody less left and more reasonable, they might have a chance.
But look, Doug Jones was a failed candidate, pro-abortion, ultra-liberal, ultra-pandering. He would fit into the neighborhood of Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and Chuck Schumer. Like I said, when you have the media against you, when you have the party against you, when you put your foot in your mouth a little, these things are going to happen, and you're not Donald Trump. It was a perfect win for the Democrats. It won't happen again. And like I said, where is an electable Democrat nationally? Is it Gillibrand? Is it Booker? Is it Bernie Sanders? I don't see their benches being that deep.
True. Well, a lot of them are old. They need to get, I guess, younger or whatever. But, one interesting, of course, Trump's big on tweeting, and he's also big on robocalls. Now, before the election, I was getting these Trump robocalls, and he would say, this is Donald Trump, and I'm going to make you very, very happy. And I was thinking, well, that makes me very, very pleased. It was so general. It wasn't positive in my direction, but I couldn't stand the Clintons. So that's why I voted. But, these robocalls, I don't know. They just...
Well, look at what Obama did to America, and we remember what he did to us, and we're going to bring America back, and the president's going to do this, and the media wants to perform a coup, and we're not going to let that happen, Jim. Are you with me?
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying there should be a coup. I'm just saying that, I don't mind Trump at this point. Trump's not bad, but a large of his getting elected was the opposition. That's all I'm saying.
He's a lot better than Hillary Clinton. He's a lot better than Obama.
Of course, that's what I'm saying.
And Jim, you said it right here.
But if Hillary wasn't running against him, I have a feeling he wouldn't have won.
Well, we'll never know now, will we?
Nope.
Jim, thank you for the call.
Thank you much. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio. By the way, if Hillary Clinton hadn't rigged the process, well, maybe we would have had Bernie Sanders against Donald Trump. And the Donald would have wiped the floor up with old Bernie as well. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And we continue to take your calls about the issues that matter to you. Pro-life, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
By the way, thank you for your patience. We apologize for not getting to you sooner.
Well, that's fine. The real thing is that abortion being murder was not played in Alabama like it should have been. Every person that voted for Doug Jones should have been known to be voting for murder. And Mr. Roy Moore did not make that case. The Republicans did not make that case. The pro-life people did not make that case. And that is the real, now maybe Doug Jones would have still won. Maybe the people like murder in Alabama. I don't think so. But that's the real issue right there. And Republicans
what do you say that people thought that pro-abortion Doug Jones was more electable or more representative than super pro-life Roy Moore? What do you say to them if they were listening right now?
Maybe Doug Jones does represent Alabama. Maybe they are for murdering babies, and so maybe that's the case. But I'll tell you that the Republicans will never gain the, I guess you'd say the will of God and the people until they take all the moral issues and go back to God's position that abortion is murder, sexual sins are perversion. We're not going to have any of it. If they don't do that, they'll just always be sick like they are in Wimpy. So that's all I can say.
Pro-life, thank you for the call. Let's get a traffic and weather together at KID. And our friend Rome talking about the representative from Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard, or whatever her name is. She's a veteran, but she's run afoul of the political party if they want to run somebody to win the presidency. Let's go back to the phones. Liberty Linda joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Yes, good morning, Kevin. You know, the last I heard from Judge Roy Moore, he doesn't seem to think it's over. You know, however, all of your callers this morning seems to have accepted that Jones just won. You know, I'm with you, Kevin. I still think we may hear news about this race, that perhaps maybe it will be switched back to Moore soon. And however, you know, after hearing our President Trump calling Jones and congratulating him, it seems that may seal the deal. But anyway, I think that perhaps something may come up and Moore will still win. What do you think about that?
I think that's a long shot. I think it's a long shot. But I will tell you that Judge Moore will never surrender.
Yeah, well, I don't think he should. It's too close. It's just too close of a race. I really like what pro-life said. I'm with pro-life as well. I agree with him. And we'll just, excuse me, I'm waiting to wait for a little while and see if something doesn't come up here and it may be switched back. But, you know, my fingers are crossed. I hope that will happen. But anyway, so we'll wait and see.
Liberty Linda, thank you for the call.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's Holly from Caldwell with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Holly.
I am with Liberty Linda on that one. I don't think, I mean, I guess I'm disappointed the fact that this was such a close race and this was a deliberate smear campaign by the media, and it's unfortunate that the media in many cases has become the lapdog for the government instead of the bulldog for the people. A lot of the stories that they told about Moore were very inconclusive, including the lady with the yearbook that later admitted that she had changed the yearbook and that wasn't actually accurate. And I'm also really disappointed that the American people, a lot of the American people, actually care more about this kind of stuff than real issues that are going on in our country.
Good point. Good point. Of course, what do you say to the libs that are rejoicing in the streets right now?
Well, the problem is it seems like they don't want to listen to facts, and so I'm trying to figure that one out myself. Is how do we bridge that gap and help them understand what reality is? Because they base so many of their decisions on emotion, and they believe sound bites that they see on the media. So how do we get to people? Because reasoning with facts a lot of times just gets them to run their tail and hide instead of actually really talk about what the facts are. So I don't know.
Holly, thank you for the call. Thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio.
Thanks.
Kevin Miller in the morning here. We're driving on, taking your calls about the issues that matter to you. KIDO Talk Radio, your proud home of Fox News here in the Treasure Valley. Fox News is next. Stay here. Stay informed.